After 2 years.
After 2 years of suffering.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Kotido.
Yes, Happy New Year.
How are you?
Yes.
How are you? Yes, speak for lawyers. Remigio, you are here.
Oh, my Lord. Big stuff.
I'm permanently under your command.
My name is Honorable David Pulkol. David Pulkol is a principal advisor to General Salim Saleh, chief coordinator of Operations Wealth Creation, or WC, as well as special presidential advisor on defense. So at OWC, we provide synthesized advice which has been researched, documented, and well analyzed to guide General Saleh and OWC in making its contribution to the transformative agenda of our government in terms of what is not going right in the economy and proposing remedial actions, as well as making contribution in a number of sectors, supporting different line sector ministries. So now we are here based in Gulu and focusing on West Nile, Acholi, Lango, Karamoja, Teso sub-region up to Sebe in some of the activities we are involved in. Now, the purpose of this initiative, General Saleh has had with the Catholic Church and the meetings that have been held lately from 3rd of January 2025 and translating to supporting and dedicating his birthday, 65th birthday, to uplifting the little sisters of Mary Immaculate of the Church, which were founded here in Gulu and headquartered here in Gulu, in terms of their projects for their community house, but also their farming projects. So this, in essence, heralds a new partnership between the Roman Catholic Church and the government of the Republic of Uganda. Now, this is built on a very firm foundation. History is rich with what we must seek to avoid than emulate, and therefore start to have a much more closer working relationship in the area of health, which the Catholic Church has been very, very strong in, education, agriculture, and environment, as well as peace-building programs, since every diocese has a justice, peace, and program, justice and peace program. So, given the fact that the Catholic Church has a very elaborate structure, very elaborate, very efficient, systematized structure of the way it does these things, right from the Pope to the last Christian at the parish or sub-parish level, below a catechist. So, as well as government of Uganda has also a structure right from the presidency in terms of State House up to LC1 and beyond. So these two structures, if well harnessed, and if they can maximize on their synergies and forge their relationship, actually the socio-economic transformation of Uganda particularly here in the northern part of the country, would be realized much faster and efficiently. So that's why it is important, this initiative, for the government of Uganda to explore new ways of formalizing its partnership in terms of support, whether in terms of policy, in terms of strategy, even financing. These are all critical areas, so that the church and the government can work very closely to transform this part of the country and transform our people in the grassroots. So that's really the main motive of this discussion. A lot has been discussed, including university now in Karamoja Peace and Technology University, where government is partnering with the Catholic Lawyers International, as well as with the Pope, the nuncios, and the Church, the Holy See, in order to deliver this university for peace and technology in Karamoja, which seeks to absorb most of those who have dropped out of school, including those who are Karachunas who have just handed over their guns, let alone those who are currently in the different levels of education, and turn them into useful citizens who will be part of the transformative soldiers, or part of the transformative force in the Karamoja sub-region, and will serve also the neighboring regions of Ateken in South Sudan, in Ethiopia, in Kenya, as well as the neighboring districts within Uganda, neighboring to that of Karamoja. So it's a kind of flagship project that has been picked up, and it's already in the 10-year regional development plan for Karamoja, and is also now in the 4th year NDP4, National Development Plan 4. So other projects will be identified by each diocese, each Roman Catholic diocese, and some projects will be identified by the Episcopal Conference, which is a confederation or a meeting, a conference of bishops, the Catholic bishops in Uganda. Some of general nature, cutting across, others which are area specific to each diocese. So we hope that the government and the church will also establish a coordinating mechanism, an institutional mechanism. I think it is time to revisit some of the ideas, a possibility even of maybe a ministry for religious affairs, or combine it with ethics, or have it separately in its own right. But anyway, for efficient, effective, and successful delivery of health, education, agricultural, as well as value addition, and peace building projects in Uganda, I think the time has come for the church to strongly partner, the Catholic Church and the religious leaders to partner with the government of the Republic of Uganda. I think this is really a welcome initiative and courtesy, as it is spearheaded by General Salim Saleh, who is really our boss and who is at the forefront of forging this new partnership. Thank you very much.
2 years of suffering. Hello, sir. Kotido.
Yes, Happy New Year.
How are you?
Yes.
How are you? Yes, people of lawyers. Banan, Remigio, you are here. Ah, Banan. So, by the old man. So, it is his day we are celebrating today. Yeah. And then we are celebrating the new entrant, 2 new entrants, I think.
Yes.
Into Gulu and Karamoja. So it's a big story. So I don't know how you are going to, very, very surprised to be here. Too excited.
It's a blessing. Three bishops here is a big blessing. It's a big blessing. Next time we could need more.
You know, Bishop Odama took me to his, when I came back here, he took me to the cathedral.
Yes.
And then he showed me his area of influence.
Yes.
I said, now this area of influence, how do you manage it? He said, by God's grace. I said, now, so it is time for you to allow us to deploy soldiers around the cathedral for security. He said, no way, I don't need your soldiers. God is protecting me. Now, when you are in the barracks, and you know that these guys can come and pick him anytime they wanted. So I said, now I'm the one who was praying for him. And for myself. Man. So I don't know who is going to tell the story. Your story is very, very interesting. The church, the state, and the chiefdoms.
Yeah.
But all of them are just controlled by one thing called commerce. The church, the state, the chiefs, all controlled by one product called commerce. So, Philip, you are the
Thank you, sir.
convener.
Thank you, sir. Where the church and the state and the clans and non-state actors have to work together for coexistence. Because you are the 3 pillars that judge and therefore design formulas of how human society should move. And considering that the church was there before government, it's a very big honor for us to. And I know, because yesterday we met briefly, I know we've come to discuss, besides the spiritual, a lot of the temporal issues. Because as God said, Jesus said, man does not live by bread alone. But he meant that also you must have bread in order to live. So the two go hand in hand. I want to quote some document, and I'm sure General will be better to tell you this, about the doctrine of the Protestant Church by Bishop Willis, about their intention of the church in northern Uganda. In his book, the church at that time for here was not so much as
Originated their wealth creation, what? Attitude. Now which left to these guys? No, gone completely. They don't have, because the Uganda company, which was created as the industrial arm of the Church Missionary Society, is the one which built the whole economy in central Uganda. So how did they lose all that now? Because they are struggling. So I wanted the bishop to help me to understand how did now, because the Catholics were marginalized in that space of that, like from 1903, I think up to 19 maybe six,
Yes, before
like 53.
yeah.
They were completely off. They were never supported by any. So how did you make it and prosper? That's my biggest question. But we need to pray first, I think. They have.
We have.
Because they are one of the Protestants. But if they go to court now, they may get some money. Because for them, all their efforts from 1903 to 1953 were consumed by Uganda Development Corporation, which ran from 1952 to 1998. And then NRM sold liberalized and sold the assets of UDC. So they, as the church, are they not, as the founders, are they not, should they not benefit from the outcome of that sale? The history is very, very interesting.
I think the issue is even them, they didn't follow it critically, unlike Bishop Willis, who was very strong with the state.
He was with the state.
Bishop Willis was very strong with the British government and the church, like in England, the Church of England and the government. But I think this one's, by independence, most people didn't know the importance of that close proximity. And I think at the same time, by 1960s, especially 64, the issue of the state being northern and Buganda being Protestant and this, there was a distance. And I think it has never come together. It has never come together. So that, I think, is where they lost the strength. And then when President Idi Amin came, it again pushed the churches further in favor of the Muslims. And this has never made it recover. So it was not formal, but it just drifted and remained as such. And I think that's why my Lord bishops yesterday when we were talking said, we should come closer. We should come closer. That's the message I was getting from them.
But you can't. For them, they are. I dealt with the Catholic for them. So they are not easy to work with. I went and tried to participate with my parish, Kapeka parish.
Yes,
They're building a huge cathedral. I said, God will give me money. Because I prayed for that project in Kapeka, I wrote to God. 205. So, Father Kenya comes. General, now you are here, you are a citizen. We want to roof the church. I said, that one, it is like simple. I'm going to call and they will bring you the iron sheets. I called my people. They brought 800 iron sheets. And I think the church needed like 600. But I brought the wrong type, which they had not put in their design. Then the father called and said, sir, thank you, sir, for your contribution, but we can't use your iron sheets. I said, why? He said, sir, according to our architecture drawings, we designed this church to have the overshot, there is a corrugation. There is this corrugation, the one of like you.
Yeah.
But then for him, he wanted the one which is like, semi-rectangular like
Yes,
this.
yes,
I said, but Father who? Father who? Chibuka was Bukenya. He said, but why? He said, no, it's not in our design. You come and take away the iron sheets. We want.
Yeah, this one.
Yes. So when you are planning with the Catholic Church, please,
You have to be very careful.
you have to go according to their plan. This one I have learned over Kijaguzo. Kijaguzo, where they hid, they hid my mother in the parish during the war.
Oh, yes.
Mose tried to build them something like an auditorium, where people can go and sit and. So for them, they made their own design, and then the president wanted to change it, they refused it. So for me today, it is just to listen and see whether I can adapt, because you can't plan for them. For them, they always plan for you. So then that's how we came into the cassava project with the Archbishop.
Yes.
Again, the president sent me and said, you go. Because for me, I had simpler versions of building this thing, to build the cassava thing.
Yeah.
Is like a joke for me now. But they had their own. So we sat there, he showed me at the residence.
Yeah.
He said, Mzee has told me to sign an MOU with you. But then he said, Saleh, sit down and listen. This is how I want it, number 1, number 2, number 3. I said, I pay you sign. So we are here to listen basically.
He even talked about the round table on which you sat.
Yes.
Yeah, we were there yesterday.
Yes.
I didn't know. That table is very historical. With him
Yes, with the map, with that map behind you.
Yeah, there is a big map there. They saw it yesterday. We tried to make a version here of it, but there was too much light, so it is a little bit faint. I don't know if this ones can recognize what they saw yesterday.
The map, big. 1957.
Yes. It's
So it is there.
Yeah, the whole of this. But they took the but yeah, I wish I pushed it this way. They gave a little bit dimmer light here. Because this one now, you can't read anything up here much. Yeah. I was telling them, what the church had was very early, before, even this year, before this year. You know that farm, the one which is down there. You know it very well. It started in 1929.
Yeah.
Here it is in the here. St. Isidoro farm here. It started 19. They would give them a pair of oxen. Yes, they would give them a pair of oxen with a ox plow. And then they would give them seeds. Seeds of groundnuts, seeds of maize, seeds of sorghum, and then some stalks of cassava. And then they say, you go and do it, but you are supposed to be now a teacher in that area to let the people know how to farm better. And they had, yesterday we saw, they had virtually all the corners. Here they had for Karamoja, Gabon area, there was a school of that kind here for them to farm. Then for the land, it was at Ale. Here now you can see it in the area of Lango. Then in the area of Acholi, it was this one.
Sure.
Yes, and truly I up now and for that.
I don't know, but it has been worse. I don't know why.
Well, there are some snacks here and there which we need to work at.
Sure.
Yes. Yes, yes. So I'm sorry to stand up before.
No, it's okay.
Yes.
So how did you accumulate more wealth now than these guys?
You know, the principle of Komboni, perhaps you could explain a bit. Being also, both of them are Kombonians. Komboni, their founder. Yes, whose photo is at the extreme end in the house there. He is their founder, the founder of the Komboni. So I would like one of them just to give a hint to exactly what was planned to be. Yes, please.
So I may say, first of all, to greet you, General, this first time. And the Dad Marriage is actually strong even to support projects and so on in certain places. You see, they promote this contribution for that place, for this project, for these people. Yeah. So these are some of the outlets that brought this. And of course, those creative people, as Bishop was saying, prepare people who are effective. The thing took off and became what it is today. Hopefully, we also at the present time will continue.
I can't attempt to that. Yeah, because I can't attempt to that now. From that experience, and you know, I didn't know. For me, I want to confess this year that I didn't know the economics of President Museveni. I was always opposing him, like on privatization. I did a lot of interference, liberalization. I did a lot of manyanga until 2020. 2020 January. That's when I attempted to challenge him, whether he was clear on the policies, programs, and strategies of NDP3. Imagine me asking the president whether he was clear about the objectives, strategies, and programs of NDP3. That's when he fired me completely and took me back to basics. So I wrote him in January 6th. Then he answered me in March. I had never connected with him on economics. So he answered, I wrote him January 6th. He answered me March 17th there. Said, General Saleh, Chairman, Operation Wealth Creation. This is the first time he called me Chairman. Normally he calls me Commander, but this time he called me Chairman. OWC. I have received your note, dated that, about that, full stop. I know what Uganda needs, full stop. Read the following documents. And I have not stopped. I have not stopped reading, because he says whoever wants to discuss with him the economy of Uganda or Africa in general should answer the following questions. Number one, how was the economy of Uganda at the dawn of colonialism? How was the economy of Uganda at the sunset of colonialism? What was the effect on the economy of the post-independence governments? What therefore was the economy in 1986? Now this letter he was writing, lecture he was giving to the Central Executive Committee, he asked the same questions in 2018, but for me I'm not a member of the SEC. I'm in the military wing. But for SEC he asked them these questions. Therefore, then he said question number 6. What therefore was the economy in 1986? Now, that December he was asking them what was the economy in 2018 December at Uganda when he gave the lecture. Then what do you want the economy to be when you are a free modern economy? Then he trapped us and said, since in economics you must use or combine factors of production. What was the state of production at each of those stages? That's how I read, that's how I discovered the Uganda company, that's how I went. I sent him to London, the engineer Chibuka there, to look for the documents. So, if you want to work with him, and that's what most people have not understood, if you want to work with him, you must be able to be on the same frequency. So when I started reading, that's how we published that book called Musevenomics. Because nobody is answering his questions. Nobody is engaging him at his level. Because that forced me to go back and read that's when we went into all the archives. But based on Uganda, I had never understood the same things about the North. So in Uganda there, even if I'm dead asleep, I can wake up and tell you who owned which plot, where, at what time. Because it is clear. So I don't know how they will be able to. Then I have got a very stubborn principal advisor called Philip and David Pulkol. They are the ones, for us, you know, for us we were not educated by the time we came to power. For them, they were more educated than us, the soldiers. Now and Severino there, is another problem I have added now. So they seem to know what they want to tell people. But they keep on hiding it, I don't know. Because so now you are the one who is going to interact directly with them, but they may get disappointed with your theories. So, because he hates cooperatives, for me I'm pro cooperatives. For him he's a capitalist 311, I think. And we'll get. So now you chair this progressive be the. Because they are the ones who are facilitate, but first give us your outlook on Musevenomics.
Yes. Principally, Musevenomics is a comprehensive and holistic.
It's security of persons and property.
Yes.
Number 2 is privatization and liberalization.
Yes.
Number 3 is return of Asian property.
Yes.
Number 4 is market integration, create bigger markets for the region.
Yes, the bigger education.
Number 5 is UPE and USD.
The education.
Number 6 is the cost of doing business. Money, power, roads. Number 7 is what? Corruption is number 9. Corruption, he knows that everybody is corrupt. That's why he says, I'm not God. So why don't we have disciples who can recite verbatim what he says? That's the biggest danger that Muslim is facing. Nobody's. We want to interpret it in the way, or in whichever way we want. Why can't we be? Is it what? Dogmatic.
Yes.
So that's where he has problems, because the man has written and written, but for me, I took him seriously when he, I had done a lot. I had done NDP3, the way the modern people present it in PowerPoint, challenges, successes, and I was so proud of the presentation I sent him. When he rubbished me, it's like a rebuke. Sorry, I have received your note, full stop. I know what Uganda needs, full stop. Read the following documents. And the answers simply came very, very easily in my head. But the problem is that his questions need very serious answers.
Yes.
Yeah, because now, like in the north, it is how do you combine the factors of production that you have in order to produce a good or a service? And clearly you have land. Number 2, you have labor. So even with the best production, I think that one, if we just followed that principle for planning, then it would be easier. Then for Karamoja, I was very well settled in February last year, settled in my industrial park. You know, God, I wrote to God in 205 to give me that miracle there. And He delivered it. So I was busy there. You know, when you are sitting in my compound, you are looking at 20, 30 factories, and you see people going in the morning to work and people coming out. It gives you joy. And truck lorries bringing raw material, taking out products. February I was there. He said, "Saleh, where are you?" "I'm in Kape." "Go to Karamoja." I said, "Mzee, Karamoja to do what?" And that was when the Karamojong had agitated themselves for whatever reason, I don't know. I said, "Mzee, no. I said, Saleh, I have told you to go to Karamoja. And don't go and stay in your factory. Go and stay in my house, in Morulinga. But not inside my house. You go and stay in the boys' quarter there." So I just landing in Karamoja. Because I was in Karamoja like 40 years before. I had never been back there, so that's when Achia was very, very helpful for me. Because I landed like in trouble, only to discover that the trouble is coming from Turkana. It's no longer Karamoja, because Mzee had already resolved the issue of Karamoja, but he didn't deal with the Turkanas. So from then, I have never gone back to Kampala. So February, March, April, May, they did very, very good work. But I also asked him, "Mzee, give me in writing what you want me to do." And he articulated very well what is the Karamoja that he wants. And Achia and his colleagues adopted it very, very fast. Interpreted it in two actions: strengthened the principle number one of economics, security of persons and property. Number two, see how to use those factors of production. And for him, primarily, the primary message in that letter to Karamoja was
Settling the Karamoja farmers.
settling.
Yes, he was settling the farmers because he says once the science has proved that when you make the cattle stay, the disease is catered for, you don't have to run away because water is catered for. So once they stay, then the farm
Coming very clear.
and I found that that's why they said the next time will be more. Because after this, they said, okay, let's go and see how we can engage the states. And then we bring our other colleagues to see how we can now work. And as you said, since there are gaps and there are different ways, we start with the concept of
Yeah, it was a deep reflection because it had similar characteristics with the Christmas we had here in 1997, when there was hope. There was hope that. So I kept the whole. I was on side of reflection. So when the principal advisor said the bishops are coming, I started panicking. For me, I'm not in your. Because how do you address these men of God?
No, it's a blessing for you. It's a blessing for you, and like to be also, I'm going to Kampala. I say, let me come and just wish you Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Now they're wishing together with the bishops. Oh, this is it's a blessed year for you.
But we are still discussing.
It's okay, sir.
Yes. So I started to introduce to you the new Archbishop with whom you will be working. And then I will also say something a bit about my junior brother, bit, but you know more about him already. Number 2 was to share with you our determination to strengthen and improve our partnership, the church's partnership with the government in development in some of the critical areas like education, health, socio-economic, example, agriculture, and peace. Because one of our popes said peace is another name for development. Yeah, peace is another name for development. Then number 3, our intention was to come and request some specific needs for support. Now that done, let me start with the introduction. I have originally
collaboration and communication. But on the side of governance, there is constitutional order, there is the culture. I didn't know that people are more cultural than religious. They tell lies in the church. When they go to the church and then, but inside there they are cultural.
Aligned with their culture.
So, and it's mixing up the issues.
Yeah, that's very true.
Then the church, then commerce. So how do we get you into the, I don't know how they will, because the constitution just glosses over it. And they say, no, you are not supposed to be, the church and the state must be kept separate. And I don't get it. Because how did the Baganda grow coffee? We have to use the kingdom. Because we tried, and uptake was not there until we said, let's use the kingdom, and then the churches. The churches came late, but when they came on board, the thing was just went like fire.
Yeah. So this was the purpose of our coming here, was to really ascertain to you. Really our profit very much there. Then number 3, in the socio-economic area of development, we are now embarking on agriculture. But there are other sectors which we need to work, also collaborate with the government. The minister. I think these people are photo. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Stop fighting, start talking.
Yes. This.
Amen. You are talking with the.
Yes, a photo of him. Yeah, Bishop. I mean, your grace, come, let us. You can greet each other now. Let them cover this. Yes, yes. So this is my successor. Yes. And he is my friend, I told you already.
Yes, yes.
So I hope you.
I'm his soldier.
I'm his soldier. One week, this grace was feeding the sisters. He liked the chicken.
Contradiction, but people have refused to address it. And I don't know how we can start this discussion to its logical conclusion. Everybody knows the influence of the church in the village. Everybody knows the inefficiencies of the bureaucracy. So how can we have, I don't know whether we can have a new spirit of the church and state. I don't know how to.
No, I find for the North, I must thank His grace. And from the time you.
So she wanted all the money for PDM to go to Centenary. But then she found that all the money had been posted to Post Bank. But the last time we checked was, I think the Catholics, the Centenary had about 32% of PDM money.
Okay.
Yeah, is with the Centenary. But now the Post Bank worked very fast and they created an application called Wendy.
Wendy, yes.
Wendy, that
Those are
was
the villages.
It was an individual. It was a very, and it was developed from the barracks here.
Really?
Yeah, Wendy.
Yeah.
We developed it in 2020 with about four technicians. So that Wendy has switched the PDM beneficiaries from Centenary Bank. Because for them it is. Yeah, so I don't know why the Centenary Bank and Post Bank didn't work together to have that application, because that PDM money is 2 trillion now, 2.5 trillion.
Oh.
Yeah. But the last time we checked with it, when I was in Karamoja, Centenary had 32%. But I think it has reduced because of that Wendy application. But they are still the biggest. Now, Stanbic Bank has less than 5%.
They are crying.
They are crying.
I saw them coming to you.
Yeah. But we tried to beg them before they refused it. But when now they saw Centenary and Post Bank, now if you call them, they can fly here. But now for Centenary, I think they have like 30%
Of PDM money.
of PDM money. And that girl, I don't know her name, was really fighting.
I know her.
She was fighting with Garabuzi.
They came here. The war was here.
They still have a big share, so on that one it's okay. But on the cassava, is everybody united behind him?
Well, I think now with the new administration, I think they were trying to reorganize. Because I've been picking churches. Some of the parents, they are concerned. They want, they trust it. They have no problem with His grace. But the other administrations, some of the priests, I think they are not very much convinced. I think that's what you need to review.
Yeah.
You need to review
We're already going to that.
you need to review. Once you streamline that, then they're okay. They're okay with the whole thing. But the complaint was the people who are now managing this. The other priests feel that no, it is a one-sided thing. Because the other day, when on your day, the president's speech, which was read by the vice president, when they talked about
Nothing, the man never turned up. But inside our spirits, it's changed my direction completely. And for me, he has rebuilt me completely, like rebuilt me. So, but the issue is budgetary. How do we embed their plans into the
Uganda Episcopal Conference in Kampala representing the President. We also attended the groundbreaking, is it called groundbreaking, or the launch of laying the foundation stone in Kotido, which was a great expression of the support of His Excellency the President. In the last visit that the President had in Karamoja, I again raised the question of Kapatu and the need for resources, which in his response he said that the idea of the university is not a new story. This is a decision that was made long ago, and we basically therefore needed the resources. Like my bishop has said, in the last meeting of cabinet, this matter of financing of Kapatu was again discussed, and cabinet resolved that the PSST looks at the matter and ensures that this is captured in the budget framework paper for 2025-2026. Why have we written this letter to you? You have also been a very strong and strategic ally for the implementation and success
Kapatu University. The Kapatu University is a game changer for us and meets the strategic thinking and vision of His Excellency the President. Can you imagine, General, that since the colonialists came, education has been there, but Karamoja has not changed. But Kapatu is going to bring that change. How is Kapatu going to bring this change? We are going to start a university that is going to recruit people who don't know how to read and write. And these are the people you and General have been fighting to disarm. We are starting with that group. We want to skill them. We want to instruct them in the local language. We want the villages and homesteads to be our schools and classrooms. We want to capture Karamoja at one go, the way His Grace was showing you the map of his area of power. Our area of power for transformation will be every village in Karamoja and every Karachuna. If you have handed over a gun, you are the first candidate for this university. The elders, the women, but we will also be having the formal structure of the school. UPE has been there, but not every child has gone to school. This time we are saying, those that have not gone to school, Kapatu will take care of them. For example, recently we did a demonstration at the Bishop's residence. Organized this Ambe Karachuna, trained them, and they have built a wall like this one of yours. Without going to school to know the mix of cement, you don't need a training on how to drive a wheelbarrow. So it means, therefore, we can be able to transform Karamoja. We are targeting about 350,000 to 500,000 children who don't go to school. And we think in 7 to 10 years, they should all be in school. So therefore, conflict will be history. Because we think once people have gone to school, then there will be nobody going to think about a gun. We will be discussing purely transformation with a more human understanding of one another. We are having great ideas, like dealing with issues to do with pharmacy. In Makerere University, they say that all the plants in Karamoja are medicinal, 99%. But you might find the people in Karamoja are more sick than the rest of Uganda. And yet they are living in a pharmacy. But the skill to transform the medicinal plants into what we need to help human health is what Kapatu is going to address. So this is a big idea which requires your support. We want to thank you because our team of professors have been supported by you to now try and develop the kind of courses that we think our people will need, which meet their needs, but also meet the idea of transformation. Now, we're printing this letter because we made an attempt to meet the PSST, and he seemed to give us a totally different view, that the cabinet advised him to go and study. So I wondered what he was going to study when the cabinet has said, put it in the budget. So we said, let's write to General so that he helps us to tickle the PSST to act appropriately. My Vice Chairman budget is here. We have done the necessary mobilization in Parliament. We just need to make sure that this appears in the budget framework paper, and Parliament will act appropriately. But we cannot act in a vacuum where this document is not captured, or these figures are not captured in the budget framework paper. When you directed that let Kapatu be captured as part of the NDP, we did that. Now that it's in NDP, let this can be the budget framework paper. We already began the journey through your support. We have come, General, to appeal to you that as we live today, possibly like you did for the work on Onusa, maybe after some few minutes you will make a call and come back and say, this is another given, like you did for Onusa. We will appreciate it. Because we really need this. We would like the university to get started. The bishop has already given us land to the tune of almost 20,000 acres. We are really ready to move.
20,000.
20,000.
The biggest land.
20,000. It's going to be a big university because it's going to really cover the region.
Agriculture.
There will be faculties in different parts. And so they are going to move. The Faculty of Agriculture, we have learned, it will be in Abil. So it is going to be purely integrating.
20,000 acres.
Yes.
From where?
From Karamoja.
Where?
You've been looking for it. The bishop has land. You said that the church has wealth. One of the wealth that the church has, by the way, the biggest landholder in our country is the church.
20,000 acres.
Yes.
Where?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because we are going to use this as avenues of setting up the
Where there are
faculty,
parishes,
yeah.
there is land. It's not one huge piece of land in one location, like I mentioned. So, General, this is our humble appeal, that the way you rate us, so that we can see
So
this
the
dream
160
come true.
billion is for.
You know, what has happened is that the President and the First Lady helped us to get an interim certificate from get to operate as a university. And among those things is the infrastructure. We needed the classrooms, we needed the laboratories, we need the, where the lecturers are going to stay. Basic things that will show that this university is set to start. So these resources are required for us to get started with the infrastructure that we need, and also helping us to set up the kind of syllabus that we will be teaching. So this is basically why we have come to say, after they were healed by Jesus, they all went to town and disappeared, but one said, no, I think I need to go and say thank you. We have come to say thank you.
Church. Because the state works with the bureaucracy and it ignores the church and it leaves the church vulnerable to political manipulation and interference. So for today's meeting, 2025, the 3rd of January, we are trying to look for a formula through which the church can directly work with the government. They have more schools than the government, I think. They have hospitals which are, I think, at the center. Then there are the spiritual people for people in the refugee camps whom you look after. But in budgeting, they never appear. Even after. That's what I wanted. I thought this meeting of today would help me to understand that equation so that I can forward it.
General, I strongly support the church should be the Bible or government. If we are able to pay this local traditional chief 60 million shillings per month salary, now, and we pay zero to the church. These are doing complementary jobs. The chiefs, the traditional chiefs, are following those non-cultural, they're looking after that culture. Israel are looking after spiritual being. I'll give you an example. In Germany, a country like Germany, which I know better, the church is supported by the state. And in any employment, you go register what religion you are. If you are a Catholic, there. If you are a Protestant. Now, every end of month is a compulsory tithe reduction. They give you pay maybe 10 or 5% or 2% from your employment to the church, and that money goes directly to the church. So, not to reduce our churches into a situation where they are helpless, because it's all from the same community that we get our earnings through taxes, through this kind of levy and so on. So they must be entitled to that. They must get something so that they can now concentrate on the real spiritual and then social obligation of society. This is the way I look at it, because a lot of churches, particularly a lot of these other churches where people marry, like church in Uganda, you have children, you have what, there's nothing. The Sunday collection in our villages, there somebody doing a piece of cassava grow on it as a contribution on Sunday. Now, that one cannot look after your child going to secondary school. So they are bound to start cutting corners. Fundraising is there, they eat the money. You know, those now using them below even the church, the spiritual level. So they need support. In my view, I strongly support them to get some government. And after if it comes, I would strongly support the stand of the church and religious awareness. So they are protected. They don't become beggars. From Europe, they come and blackmail them because the Europeans there with the CIA and so on who are fighting our government. They can now use the church, go to the church, send their elements to the church to undermine our authorities.
I hope you are not recording.
Where the church could cooperate with the government. We want that status to be improved. We are already working with the government. For example, in the area of education, there is cooperation. In the area of health, there is also cooperation. But we want it to be uplifted higher than what it is now. Then, especially in the area of socio-economic development, that area we have not done much together. Here we're trying to bring the issue of, for example, cassava, where the government is going to build a factory for starch and ethanol combined. And therefore, the church is willing to mobilize and work with the population to produce as much cassava as possible, because the need for having very big amount of cassava is going to be there. We have also other areas in which we can cooperate. In the field of other crops, which we could also work together. Like, let me just give us an example. The area of getting fields for production of coffee, for example. Coffee can grow here in northern Uganda. That area we have not exploited much. We wanted to exploit it. And then we have the area of health. We have hospitals. The government has been supporting, but not very much. But now we are appealing that the government should do more in that area of really supplying some of these hospitals with equipments like MRI or scan, CT scan, and then even for the area like for salaries and so on. These are things which could be done on both sides, because it is to do better service for the people we are leading, either in the religious life or in the civil life. We are treating the same people, except the angles of approach are different. So we went to see Salim Saleh because he's a chairman of OWEC. And we wanted to talk this together with him so that he can link us properly also with the government for his support to the church. The more the government works in the area of social services and the socio-economic sectors together with the church, the more it will be profitable for the people.
For today's meeting, 2025, the 3rd of January, we are trying to look for a formula through which the church can directly work with the government.
You know,
They have more schools than the government, I think. They have hospitals which are, I think, at the center. Then there are the spiritual people for people in the refugee camps whom you look after. But in budgeting, they never appear. Even after. That's what I wanted. I thought this meeting of today would help me to understand that equation so that I can forward it.
We've been a meeting together with Archbishop Emeritus of Gulu and Archbishop, the President of Gulu Archdiocese, General Salim Saleh and other people, like my General of the Diocese Mary Immaculate in Gulu, and other 2 MPs of Karamoja who are there. We shared a few issues, among many, about the collaboration between the government and the church in serving the people of Uganda. I see this collaboration as something important, that the government serves Uganda, the church serves also Ugandans, despite the different faith groups. So personally, I noticed that, and I see it necessary that it's important that the 2 organisms should work together because we serve the same people. Because sometimes we can have a danger of blaming each side. This one blames the other for not participating in this, and this is good. And sometimes also we have a challenge in this collaboration, which is supposed to be that there's a gap of information, especially when it comes from the programs from the government side. Sometimes the church is not given the right package to understand in order to be able to talk about it and with the people in its own language. And at the same time, sometimes the church also, because it has its own plans and strategies, does things without so much involving the government. Although the things of the church always reaches the government by all means, either through private means or through activities that are done, the government comes to know and they get interested in and participate. So I think this is very important, that we must streamline things together and work together. Now, there are many areas in which the church can work together with the state. Today we shared about 4 basic areas on the issue of health, on agriculture, on education, and on peace. Because we need these elements in order to promote human development by all means, either spiritually or materially. Now, linked with this collaboration, in Kotido Catholic Diocese, there is a program, a university project that we are initiating, and being a participatory project between the government, the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Lawyers International. That is a group of Catholic lawyers that chose as a priority to do something in Africa and then in Uganda, but in Uganda they chose the Kotido in Karamoja, being a place where most of the resources are lacking. And also there is the low educational level there. So the initiative had been to do something for this region. So they chose, among other projects that this group wishes to run, the university project. Now this university project has progressed to the level that we have already so far received the interim authority letter from the National Council of Higher Education, and we have worked on the budget in which we are involving the government to participate in it. And in the last cabinet meeting that was held in State House on the 16th of December 2024, the President promised to ask the Minister of Finance to grant Kapatu an amount worth 180 billion shillings to be put in the national budget of 2025-2026. So it is my hope that this approval takes shape and gets approved and facilitated by Minister of Finance. So this is one of the successes and collaboration that works and could work well, and also in other aspects. But we need those other aspects to work together with the government, like an aspect of peace. The government cannot only work alone for peace, but the government needs the church. The government has a language to use. The church has a language to use, but the two must reach out to a point and protect the people whom they serve. So this is all I can say in brief about what transpired today. Thank you very much.
First of all, was a courtesy visit. It came to the mind of the Emeritus, the Archbishop Jean-Baptiste Odama, that since I came to office, since I came to this place, he had not yet introduced me to him. So we went there for that introduction. And along that came also other issues. It was like, now why can't we also talk about other areas of interest that may help the operations of our activities. In our ministry as church, there are a lot of material needs as well. And so that discussion came along that line. And so we presented areas where we think it's possible to have a kind of cooperation, if I may call it, between the church and the state. And we underlined 3 areas, 4 maybe. Education and health and agriculture. And there were some other specific needs that were presented because there were requests that were put not only to him but also to the head of the state. And so these were combined and we presented those things. And so I was introduced, and then the debate turned around how can we see ways of supporting each other in all these things. The support from the state to the church is not something new. Already it is something going on, and it has always been there. For example, in most of our institutions, be it schools, those are the main areas where we are engaged. And as you know, the schools in Uganda are kind of run by the churches or the church. Most of them, more than 70% of what we have in the country. So the cooperation has been going on. We can say not substantially done. They help in support of school fees. Sometimes we see it was teachers, the staff, teaching staff in most of the schools, government aided schools, Catholic Foundation, but government aided schools, we find those of course coming. The same in the hospitals, health centers, we have this support. So this support has been going on. Certain subsidies are given that helps with run. But now here we are talking in terms of very substantial way of bringing in an input that will impact the society in a very big way, consistently in our region, to bring transformation to the people in a faster level, a faster way than it has been. So I think this is the main difference that we have. So this will require of us to see which way and what exactly can we ask of the state to bring in as help to our work as we do them, mostly in the areas that are underlined. And our the debate, the discussion went around that. Besides, there was also a lot of sharing of experience and visions around what we would like to live, and the general was very interested in putting some specific questions that we needed to ask, to give an answer to, and so, and those were also interesting things that came along this discussion that we had in that place on that day. Otherwise, it was a nice meeting. Yeah.
No longer about either the church dictating to the state what to do or the state dictating what the church should be. I think this meeting was a very important meeting, looking at the mutual relationship of the church role and the state role in socio-economic transformation of the people of Uganda. And if you saw the communication from the Archbishop, Emeritus, Archbishop Odama, also Archbishop Raphael, and Bishop Dominic of Kotido Diocese. All of this, the history of the church we have come to know from the 1870s up to now, has been focusing on how to invest in the person, the human person, in terms of human capital development. And that's why wherever the Catholic Church in northern Uganda has been, you'll find there is a church, next to it there is a school, and next to it there is a health center. But what is unique about this meeting today is that the church now is open to what some of us personally, I believe, has been a missing link, the question of commerce. And the Archbishop Raphael put it clearly that you cannot preach to an empty stomach. You cannot preach to a person who doesn't have the bread. That human being cannot depend on that. The church also says you cannot depend on bread alone. But also it also speaks to other people have said that we envisage that there must be bread in the first place. So I think for me, the takeoff from this meeting is there is now a new window of mutual understanding, mutual respect, and mutual meeting of minds that the church and the state must work together to transform the people of Uganda and lift them out of poverty. And this one is significant because the church has largely been saying, oh, we are give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God. Almost preaching the separation between the church and the state. But today, we have seen that we have commonality, we have a human focus, we have one person we are dealing with, the human person. And all those aspects are the human person, and that's the interest of the government to transform this very person. The interest of the church is not only spiritual transformation, but also socio-economic transformation. I think this is a very historical meeting, and I'm happy that General Saleh has really broken new grounds in terms of really interacting with the bishop, and the bishop expressing interest in working with the state in order to transform the people of northern Uganda. And for me, that's the biggest take from this interaction.
My names are Philip Idro, and I am the principal advisor to General Saleh at OWC. Today we had a wonderful meeting between the church and OWC. We were discussing issues of poverty alleviation. It is necessary for us to discuss this, not just because as the two institutions, but this is part of the national effort of all responsible institutions in Uganda. OWC, an arm of government, and the church, everybody knows the church, are all concerned about individuals, and they're all concerned about the thinking capacity, the technical capacities of managing materials, coordinations, and all that makes a difference between people. Northern Uganda, being a war-ravaged area, has all the need for organs of state and others all over the world to come together to resolve the issues. And this is possible because now peace has come and has transpired. And therefore we need to make the best out of it. Most times people have been working in isolation or in partial relationship. We now need to make a comprehensive one. There has been a big gap between the organizations. We need to close in that gap. This today was between government through OWC and the church through the three bishops. The purpose is one, the happiness of the individual. And it's human rights that all individuals of the state or within the state must be happy, must be involved, must feel involved. And so today we decided to discuss in a greater context this subject matter. Of course, there's still a lot to do in terms of discussing the real details of what is. and who can do what. Because principally, the church is about spiritual matters, but it also cannot be spiritual until it is also secular. In other words, people must be physically alive. When Jesus said, man does not live by bread alone, he was saying that man also must have bread. And that's the most important issue. And for the state, the responsibility of the state goes about all spheres of human beings: physical protection, material acquisition, coordination and relationship between the various individuals, different thinkings, different groups, and this requires a lot of attention. So we are going to do a diagnostic of the situation. We are going to do a diagnostic of the church interests and our interests as the state, from which we shall decipher exactly who does what. And we know there is a lot to do. So I think it's important that we all agree in principle before we move forward. Now, what will the working document entail? The working document is going to entail the strengths of government and strengths of the church. And both have very powerful strengths and capacities. And it is going to go into the details, specifically this time, in the northern question, from West Nile via Lango and Acholi to Karamoja. You have heard that the government has given the church 180 billion shillings to start a university in Karamoja. And this is part of the issue. The university is going to start teaching at the kraals. In other words, in the villages on one side, and it will also teach in the classrooms on the other. Now, the syllabus and the teaching will be done by the church. Very good collaboration. The church wants farms, and the government has agreed to give tractors so that they will set up schools, probably to teach the villagers, but also to have farming to increase food production. Normally, governments leave the churches, the mosques, and all other denominations to work freely by themselves, so that individuals choose which God they pray to. After all, it's personal. We agree to that. Today, it was an agreement with the Catholic Church that have your people in your spiritual ways, but we shall give you protection and we shall give you the necessary supports. The church has a lot of capacity. It has a lot of hospitals. It has a lot of schools. It has a lot of hotels. It has a lot of land. And they need experts. They can use the land. They also have hospitals with which they can work together with governments. Same treatment. So the only thing is to coordinate their work properly. Because the church is one of the biggest organizations and the government is one very big organization. I think this is the right direction. And I want to thank my Lord the bishops. I also want to thank General Saleh for agreeing to come down together to discuss these issues so that the Northern Uganda question is resolved and in good speed. Thank you.
My name is Lokii, Peter Abrahams. I'm the Member of Parliament for Gia County in Kotido District, the seat of the Bishop, the Right Reverend Dominic Eibu, the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Kotido. Kotido is going to be the seat of the Karamoja Peace and Technology University. The Kapato University is a product of a tripartite partnership
between the Catholic Church, the Catholic Lawyers, International Catholic Lawyers Society, and government of Uganda. Kapatu comes as a response to the question of why Karamoja has remained a challenge to the rest of Uganda. When you go back to the NRM 10 Points program, President Museveni in 1986 said one of the things he needs to deal with is the integration of Karamoja into the Ugandan economy. That means for too long, Karamoja has been operating in isolation, not as part of Uganda, in terms of development, in terms of peace and security, in terms of all forms of intervention. And this has been a product of a colonial legacy, where Karamoja was declared a human zoo, where Karamoja was treated as a totally different part of Uganda, where you needed a visa to be able to visit Karamoja. So, several years down the road, from colonial time to independence, the NRM government has risen to the occasion to now say the guns in the north are silent, the guns in the west are silent, the guns at the neighborhood are silent. We now need to answer the question of Karamoja. The Karamoja conflict was about survival. The Karamoja conflict was about criminality. It was not about the love for state power. Therefore, people were killing each other over cows, people were killing each other over land, people were killing each other over different aspects of life. And therefore, government intervenes through disarmament, and with the disarmament now succeeding, we are now settling in to do economic transformation. And one of the key drivers of economic transformation is education. Therefore, Kapatu becomes a critical investment for the Karamoja region, and I think it's a well-thought idea. Why Kapatu? We are bringing in a unique institution that is going to focus on people who have not gone to school at all. What you call the warriors or the Karachona, whether disarmed or not disarmed. We are talking about the girls. We are talking about the elders. We are talking about the women of Karamoja. That for the first time, there will be mass skilling. There will be mass training so that people have alternative options to survive. People will be given different skills to be able to do different things in order to change their lives, in order to fight poverty, in order to grow wealth, in order to be able to have livelihood assets or build them. Therefore, Kapatu presents a unique opportunity for the people of Karamoja, but also a unique opportunity for government to get a one-off answer to the question of conflict. Like Honorable Remigio said it today, that you see in Karamoja a problem coming. You see a young man being born, he goes to begin learning how to hunt grasshoppers. Tomorrow he's hunting rats. The next day he's hitting at birds that are flying, trying to get precision and perfect the heart of marksmanship. And all this prepares them for conflict. Because when they grow, they pick up guns, they go to raid, they go to kill, they go to do many things, to waylay, they go to rob. And therefore the opportunity to answer that question is now Kapatu. We have demonstrated this. We have had a small group of Karachona who were disarmed, those who were trained, and they have been able to make 9 blocks, if you like it, and they have been able to put a perimeter fence for the bishop to demonstrate that skilling is not about knowing how to read and write. It's about transforming the psychomotor capacity of a person to be able to coordinate and produce something that is a product of a skill. And that's what Kapatu therefore presents for us. So Kapatu for us is a plus. Kapatu for us is an opportunity to integrate the work between the church and the state. And the people for that matter. Because when you talk about the Karachona, you're talking about the ordinary people of Karamoja. So Kapatu presents again a great opportunity for the first time for the state to work together with the church to create a transformation, to drive the process of mindset change. And I think this is the greatest of all. So if we can build on this, if we can borrow from this, if we can use this to be able to spread and utilize the structures of the church, the strength of the church, the mobilization capability of the church, it will make it easier for us to reach people. Can you imagine that if I go for a meeting as an elected leader, we can end up in a quarrel with the people having exchanges. But if a bishop is in a church speaking, nobody will put up his hand to question him. That's the point of departure. That the church has a bigger influence. The church will listen to more. Even when you go in terms of the conflict, for example, you will find some of these fellows that have been killed have national IDs. They are called John, they are called Peter, they are called Abraham, they are called who. So it means they begin life from the church. And therefore the church is able to recall. The church is able to speak to them. The church is able to appeal to them again, to begin to live in a reasonable way and to live as responsible citizens. And I think when we achieve that, then we are done with the question of conflict. Then we are done with putting Karamoja on its feet on the road to permanent transformation, to permanent growth, to permanent wealth. I mean, there's already an indication to that. Look at the level of investment in terms of growth of industries. Yes, the mining sector is already beginning to attract. The hotel industry is already beginning to attract investment. But none of this is answering the question of the future and the potential of conflict. Because they are not answering the question of the Karachona, the question of mindset change. They are not answering the question of recruitment of young children to becoming warriors tomorrow. It is only Kapato that has the idea. Because even the UPE has not done it. UPE basically helps you to know how to read and write. But when you leave that one, you go and perfect your skill in fighting using guns. But the Kapato is giving you a skill that gives you the option to live without going to steal. That gives you the option to live without going to kill, without thinking of robbery, without thinking of breaking into somebody's house. So I think that is the way to move. That Kapato needs the support of all stakeholders, above all government. And we want to appreciate His Excellency the President for the support that he has provided, for accepting to be the Chancellor of the University. We want to thank the Vice President for always being there and representing the state, representing the interests of government, and representing the person of His Excellency the President. We want to thank General Saleh. We have had a fruitful meeting today. Again, because he has been a strong muscle behind the success of Kapato. He has always been very supportive, even financially. We want to thank the Catholic Church for the idea, for thinking big, for thinking and helping government to think in meeting the vision of the President. We want to thank His Holiness, the Pope, again, for fronting and being supportive on the establishment of Kapato. We must thank the International Lawyers Society, the International Catholic Lawyers Society, for, again, the thinking and the support and the researches that they are providing to help the university to succeed. I must thank the leaders of Karamoja, the members of parliament, the LC5 chairpersons for being behind, for being supportive, and going to be able to provide the necessary support that is required for Kapato to be able to take off. I must thank the Karashona of Karamoja for accepting peace, but also for being the critical target that we need in order for us to drive the transformation process and bring peace permanently and sustainably into Karamoja. I thank you.
The meeting we have just concluded today is very historic. I think it marks a year of a revolution in terms of the efforts to transform the socio-economic setting of the whole of northern Uganda, all the way from West Nile up to Sebei. Of course, today we have just concluded this meeting that was a clear gesture of the readiness of the Roman Catholic Church to cooperate with the state of the Republic of Uganda in effort to transform the lives of the people and consequently transform society. For so long, we have seen the church working parallel
and the government also having its programs working parallel, yet they are all serving the same purpose. They are serving the same human being. So today, what we have seen is a big gesture and a big step towards closing that gap, so that in terms of development, both the church and the state must put hands together and work, because their common goal is one: the development of the human person, the peace and prosperity of the human person. And if you need to define development, then you should think about peace. Peace is another name for development. For if people are running up and down, being terrorized, then you cannot think of development, because development requires that a human being is stable, is peaceful, and then is able to plan. We have seen a situation whereby the church is going to cooperate with the state in making sure that they venture into commerce. This is the first time you get the church and the state sitting together to discuss commerce since the founding of Uganda as a state. And the biggest part of northern Uganda, all the way from West Nile, Karamoja, Acholi, Lango, and Teso, this area has witnessed a long spell of war over the years, and the war has got devastating effects. So after the war, then we need a reconstruction and stabilization, and then a refocus to make sure that society is rebuilt. And so we will be embarking on a greater project of reconstructing this part of the Greater North. Initially, from the perspective of the Roman Catholic Church, it was Gulu Diocese that took the whole of West Nile, northern Uganda, up to Karamoja and the far south, Sebei. So the whole of this region, we have decided to set up a task to make sure that we reconstruct it, we reconfigure it, and make sure that development in this area is accelerated. Because in the meeting which was chaired by General Salim Saleh today, representing His Excellency the President, the entire Operation Wealth Creation machinery behind it marks a new beginning, a new reflection, a new thought process, a new refocusing of putting our energies together and working together as a church and state. And so we shall be taking up grand projects. One of the projects that has already been flagged off within this context of the church and the state working together for the development is called Karamoja Peace and Technology University. His Excellency has given 180 billion Ugandan shillings for the next financial year, and this marks the biggest boost. This is a signature project that shows that the government is committed, lives up its work. So the government provides the resources, the church provides the land and the facilities, and the Catholic Law Society International provide the technical manpower that is required to run this project. The speed at which this project is running, which was funded by General Salim Saleh all the way right from 2014, and we have been doing research up to now, shows you that the greatest ventures into the development of society largely pass unnoticed, because many people didn't know that this research, this work, these efforts were going on until it has come to the surface. So we are grateful to General Salim Saleh for providing the resources. Today he has told us that he needs to know how we are going to make sure that Karamoja Peace and Technology University resolves the puzzle of the biggest part of the land in Karamoja being a gazetted area. So, but since we are working together, OWC and the technical staff of Karamoja Peace and Technology University, that is very easy to do. Because the intellectual capacity of the professors that are spearheading the establishment of Karamoja Peace and Technology University cannot be doubted. You can believe their intellectual ability to circumvent all this and provide the practical solutions. Karamoja Peace and Technology University is very unique in the sense that it is revolutionary. The university that admits people who have not been to school is not heard of. So we are setting a precedent that these things are possible. These things are possible. You need to teach people knowledge. A university concept of a university as conceived by Cardinal Newman, who was a cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church, started this university concept, and the way he articulated it is the same pattern, the same path process through which we have conceived the Karamoja Peace and Technology University. So we are very certain that in the next few years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, Karamoja will not be the same. Today we talk about cattle rustling and so on. It will be history. We are going to begin learning about cattle rustling as a thing of the past, as a result of this university. So we take this very, very seriously. That is why it took His Grace Archbishop Odama, His Grace Archbishop Raphael, His Lordship Bishop Dominic to come today to have a conversation with General Saleh to show a stamp of approval that the Catholic Church means business. It is very, very serious. It's not business as usual. And we want to begin this year, 2025, at a different setting. We have set a different tone, and it is going to move at that pace, and it can only increase. It cannot reduce. So we would like, therefore, to prepare the country for this revolution. Today is a beginning of a revolution within the context of the development of talking about the cash economy. The government, the President, His Excellency the President, has decided that Uganda must move from $50 billion economy to $500 billion. And the church has come today to say, look, we want to be part of this. And this is how it can be done. So it is not a responsibility that can be delivered by the state alone. The church too has a stake to play. The Roman Catholic Church is the biggest owner of land in Uganda. Many people didn't know. Karamoja Peace and Technology University has got the biggest land surface compared to any other university in Uganda. The church has got schools, the best so far, that we can be proud of in the country. The church has got hospitals. St. Mary's Hospital Acholi is the biggest private hospital in Uganda and one of the best so far, and so many other facilities that the Catholic Church has, but all of which serve the same subject called a human being and Uganda. And so I take the meeting of today as being, as marking a new direction, a new step, creating a new pace and creating a new dimension as to how the church and the state can work together to bring about development. It's no longer business as usual, where one says, I go it alone as a church, or as a state, that I go it alone as a state. It is something that we must do together. Because we all agree, both the church and state agree, that a human being must be complete in terms of social, political, economic, in terms of the finances, in terms of education. It is holistic, it is multidimensional. So both the church and state believe that the human being must develop multidimensionally in all aspects, and we all agree on this. So as a result, we have taken this step, and we look towards the coming days, according to the committee that has been established, to go and work out a master plan that is supposed to engineer a new revolution into the development of the whole of this area. The northern Uganda Ecclesiastical Province and the eastern Uganda Ecclesiastical Province sitting together to think how best they can deliver. Jesus said, man should live life and live it in its fullness. So living life in its fullness means that you have the best education that you can have. It means that you have the means to be able to meet all your other obligations, be it education, be it medical. All these issues must be addressed in due context. We therefore shouldn't be looking at a human being who moves on the street begging, and then we say we are moving as a country. We must stop all this poverty, bring it to an end. I can only tell you that poverty is not something that we are born with. Poverty is imposed on us, and poverty is deliberately calculated, meticulously executed to make sure that another human being is poor. And poverty is the most cruel act, the most form of cruelty that can be imposed on a human being is to keep that human being poor. So we have a duty and obligation to bring about this form of violence called poverty. Poverty is a form of violence that is worse than war itself. You know why poverty is worse than war itself? Is because when a war breaks out, you can die. And you die once and that's all. But poverty keeps you in pain from the moment you become poor up to the moment when you die for a very long time. So it is the worst form of cruelty, it is the worst form of violence a human being can impose on another one. Poverty, like apartheid in South Africa. Apartheid was created by man, deliberately created, meticulously executed. And you saw what South Africa went through. That is the same way poverty is manufactured, is planned and executed by somebody outside to impose it on another one. So when we talk about poverty in Uganda, it is not because we in Uganda we are poor. We in Uganda, somebody has decided that we should be poor to keep us poor. And therefore, the war against poverty is the same way. The way we fight against poverty should be the same way we fight war. Poverty is an enemy that must be fought with every energy and every resource available to make sure that we bring it to an end. But that requires a lot of work to be done. Thank you.
I'm permanently under your command. Okay.